All right, so welcome back to the Data Professor YouTube channel podcast. And so today we're going to do something different. So traditionally, we would invite over data scientists or machine learning engineers over on the podcast. And today we're inviting Coding with Vincent to the podcast, and he's working in tech. And so, like before we begin, Vincent, could you introduce about yourself and like what do you do?
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Vincent. I've been a software engineer for over 3 years now. I have a computer science background. I'm originally from Canada. I went to the University of Waterloo. I'm currently working in New York City as a software engineer. I just recently got into content creation last year because of the pandemic. So I usually just make a lot of TikToks, and I'm trying to branch out to YouTube now. And a bit of Twitter. I guess that's how I've met Shannon. So yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Cool. Yeah, so you mentioned about University of Waterloo. Is
hmm
that like one of the top universities in Canada? I hear that a lot.
Um, I'm not sure if it's the top university, but I guess a lot of people know about it because I guess you can think of my school as like a feeder. Like we have a really good co-op program, so then that's what boosts a lot of our engineering rate. Like a lot of people get hired out of my school. So I guess that's where our name gets comes around, like everyone knows about it. But overall, like I think it's just a normal school.
Cool. Yeah, like one of the big tech YouTuber, Joe Tech, he graduated from University of Waterloo.
hmm
And like I hear from one of his videos, like before you graduate, you have to do a lot of tech interview. I mean, like tech internship. Is that true?
Yeah,
And how many?
so how the school works is we have this thing called co-op where basically you do kind of like 6 internships before you graduate. So instead of a
Wow.
4-year program, we take an additional year just for more internships. So by the time I graduated, I already had like 6 internships under my resume. So it made, applying for my first full-time job a lot easier compared to someone else who only has 1 or 2 internships or no internships at all.
Hmm. Right. And like when finding internships opportunities, does the university provide any assistance for that, or are you on your own?
Yeah, so the good thing about the school is we do have like a job board where a lot of companies post their listings there. So it was a great resource, especially when you're like applying for your first internship, you don't know where to apply, so it's nice to have that curated list where you can apply to. But one downside to that is that it includes your transcript on it. So if you did poorly on a class, like they're gonna see it. Whereas if you apply externally, you don't really have to share your GPA or grades or anything like that. So there's ups and downs to it. But yeah, it's great.
Cool. Yeah, and could you share with us like at which companies have you done internship during your university years?
Yeah, so I've tried to try many different positions. So for my first internship, I was doing some DevOps related work. Then I realized I didn't really enjoy that stuff as much. I'd rather do more coding rather than provisioning systems. So then next after that, I joined a small game studio. It was an interesting company because there's only like 3 people in total, like the CTO, CEO, and an artist. So it was fun. Like it was like small and scrappy. Um, and then after that, I worked at a real estate company. So there I was doing more mobile development. So I enjoyed it a lot because it was a startup, and it was like crazy because we had like this one table like that could fit 50 people, and that was literally the size of the product and engineering team. So it was nice to go in the office and basically know everyone there. Whereas when you're at a bigger company, like you basically kind of just look at people and like don't really say hi. I don't know, it's just awkward. Uh, so yeah, after that, I worked at this company that did like web development. So there I was doing more front end work. So that was interesting. And then yeah, then after that, I did another like full stack internship, where I was doing more like I was working at a blockchain startup. So it was another like scrappy place to be where it was like what 10
Mhm.
people in the company. So a lot of like work there. a lot of grinding, long hours. But it was like a great experience. And then finally, I did some data pipelining work for my last internship at an AI startup. So yeah, I learned a lot of like AWS and stuff like that there. So yeah, I just basically tried different things. I didn't stick to one stack or anything. So I basically just took advantage of the program.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like doing 6 internship before graduation.
Mhm.
Yeah, and how long does each internship last for?
Yeah, so each internship is around 4 months,
Hmm.
where some of them you can do like a eight month internship,
Hmm.
uh, and that will count like I guess like two co-op terms. But yeah, basically like six in total, 4 months each, basically.
Cool. And like starting from which year did you start an internship?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So my school has this idea of streams where basically
Hmm.
some people will start, after their first term of school, they start actually like yeah,
Hmm.
once you start university, you're gonna start applying for jobs right away and go do an internship right after that. Or you do two school terms and then do your first internship. For me, I was on like a different stream where I did three whole school terms and then I did my first internship. Uh, and then the crazy thing is, like, with all this
Hmm.
internship and back to school, you kind of just like for me, I had to make new friends every semester because the people I went to class with, they would like go off stream, and then some people will stay on stream. So it was like pretty interesting. Yeah,
Hmm.
always meeting new people.
Right, right. Yeah, it's quite unique and it's quite different from like what I've experienced before. Like
Hmm.
for my own university when I was in undergrad, it's like I have friends who were majoring in computer science and like they probably did 1 or 2 internships,
Hmm.
and most are required to do like an undergraduate project, like where they
Yeah.
do like a thesis and like publish into a book. But not so many into internships. So this is quite unique, and I think it's pretty. Um, it's amazing in that it helps you to prepare you for the actual job market. And like when you're doing internship, did it affect you? Like, did it give you more perspective about like what you want it to be after you graduate, or which coursework that you would like to do more on?
Yeah, so it definitely helped me like expose me to different stacks. For example, like oh yeah, when you're taking a computer science degree, you don't really build a lot of apps and stuff like or systems or anything like that. It's more like, fundamental, like you learn how to code basically, and then you apply like data structure algorithms, and then you might take like a compiler course and OS system course. You don't really get to, like build apps out of those things. So internships was like a great way to put you like into the industry, and then you get to work on like real products. So I guess like for me, like I got to figure out, what kind of size companies I want to be at. Like for example, I didn't want to work at like a big corporate company because things were a lot slower there. Like for example, I remember I waited like 3 days just to get like a UB key, just so that I can get access to some things in the company. And one thing, like for me, like I don't really like dressing up to I'm just not a person that dresses up. Like I don't know, most people in tech, we just wear hoodie, t-shirt, whatever, jeans. So I worked at like one of the bigger corporate companies, and they're like everyone was wearing like kind of casual, formal attire, and I don't know. I was basically forcing myself to like kind of dress up every day, which I didn't like. Whereas now, like in my full time job, I just come in a t-shirt and pants, and like no one cares. Maybe sometimes I'll just wear like a gym attire because I just came from the gym and nobody really cares. So I really like that aspect of, more chill environment, basically. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah. Speaking of which, what are you doing for your current job?
Yeah, so right now I'm currently working as a software engineer at Meta. So here I'm kind of actually, yeah, I'm still following what I did as an intern, where I basically tried different things. Like before, I was doing a lot of iOS development, and now I'm kind of like pivoting myself to do more system engineering. Uh, I guess I just wanted to try something different because I was kind of getting bored of iOS, or I don't know, maybe something's wrong with me. I just get bored really quickly, so I always need to constantly change things up. So now, like, I am like pretty lost at my work right now because it's a lot different from what I did before. Like I can't just come into my job where I did before, where I was like, okay, yeah, this code is bad. Let me delete all this code and rewrite it. Here, I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I need help. So yeah, it's there's fun in that.
Right. Yeah, and like, how did you actually prepare for your interview to get into Meta? Could you
Yeah.
provide some? Yeah.
So I guess like for interviews, it's more like it's a lot. It comes up from a lot of experience for me because like I've been interviewing, doing a lot of internships, doing a lot of interviews
Mhm.
there. So it's just to prepare, you gotta like really practice problems. I used to be really bad at like leak code style problems. I would like bomb them. Actually, like for my first few internships, I didn't even know about leak code. I didn't know like how to solve these problems at all. I would walk into these interviews blindly, and then yeah, these guys would just throw a question at you, and you're just like, yeah, I don't know how to solve this. I don't even know how to write it on a whiteboard. So it's like from my personal experience, like I've done this so many times, that I got used to it. But anyways, like to prepare for interviews, like definitely leak code. Like everyone says leak code. Like yeah, yes, you need to do some leak code problems. You need to solve them. Um, and for me, like especially when I'm on like a short timeline, like there's this nice list of interview questions that people share around on the internet. It's called the Blind 75. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's basically just a curated list that focus on specific topics. So I would just do a few questions for each topic just to get myself back into it and remind myself how those problems can be approached. Once you have those down, like you can be ready to interview. So one thing I like to do is I don't like grinding lead code. Like I see some people, they do, 100, 200 questions before they start applying. For me, like I do like maybe 10 or 20, and then I start applying. And as I do the interviews, like that's basically interview prep for myself. And I think it works a lot better because like I'm actually interviewing and being in the actual like environment of it. So I feel more like amped up for it. Yeah.
Cool. Yep. Yeah, and how many interviews did it take for you to land a job over at Meta?
So yeah, this one was interesting because I wasn't really looking for a job at this moment. Like
Hmm.
I usually try to interview like every year after I've been in that company for a year. Like recruiters always end up like reaching out to people. So I would get some reach outs here and there, and then Meta was one of them. So I wasn't really prepared, to be honest. Like that's why I only did like 10, 20 questions, and then I started applying for other jobs as well to kind of get myself in the right mindset as I did the interviews. So I think I only interviewed at around like 5 to 6 companies at that time. um so I'd say luck is a huge factor into this as well. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Um, yeah, so if you could provide tips for our audiences, what would it be to prepare for a tech interview?
Yeah, so definitely, yeah, do practice problems on LeetCode, practice them. One thing I like to do is if I can't solve a question within like 20, 30 minutes, I would just look at the solutions or the discussion board and see how people solve it. It's a great way to learn from other people. And one thing I like to do is I like to have a piece of paper right beside me. For me, like I'm very bad at like, just going straight into code. Like I need to visualize everything. I'm a visual learner, so I like to draw out diagrams, like, try to write out the problem. And that's basically how I approach my problems.
Cool, cool. Thank you. And yeah, let's hop over to another question. What skill sets are needed to break into tech?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important ones is just being curious. Like you should always want to understand how things work. Uh like I know like a lot of people like on the internet, they're like, "Oh, I hate learning new things. Like I don't want to be a software engineer because I have to constantly learn." But then I guess for me, like I'm kind of the opposite. Like for me, I get super bored quickly. So I think this is a great place to be because like things are evolving like super quickly. Like, one day there's probably like a new framework or a new way to do things. And then I get super excited about it. Like I want to learn about it. I want to understand. So I just want to like be able to dive deep and kind of understand how things work. Like I think for me, like before, I didn't really do that before. Like I would just be like, okay, yeah, how do I do this? Like just figure out the answer and that's it. But now I'm just like, okay, I want to know why things work and how it works. And I think that's what helped me like, become like a better engineer, just being like curious in general.
Hmm. Nice. Yeah, and I have another related question is like, how do you exactly learn new tech and how do you level up and keep up to date?
Yeah, so how you learn in tech, like
Hmm.
the best way is by doing, right? Like you could read as many textbooks, read as many things as you want, but nothing beats like real experience. That's why a lot of people say,
Hmm.
do projects and stuff like that. Like for example, like I would um before I tried to read like, those textbooks like clean code and stuff like that. None of the concepts really stuck until I actually applied those methods. So I used to write really bad code until like I did internships because then I actually got feedback on my code, and that's how I was able to apply like all those like stuff that I learned. So it's like pretty good.
Hmm. Cool, cool. And yeah, so on a related topic is how did you learn to code for the first time?
Yeah. So funny story. I tried to learn to code like when I was like a kid, like I was a lot younger. I used to play a lot of like online games and stuff. I wanted
Hmm.
to, build my own game. But at that time, I didn't have that many resources. Like I didn't even have like internet at home. Like I
Hmm.
would be at the library, and then I would like pick up this like C++ book, and I was like, what, like maybe 10 or 12 or something, and I'm like, yeah, I can't read it. It's too thick, just too many words. So yeah, back then there weren't that many resources. So I didn't really get into it until university. So I started learning in my first year. Um, so yeah, that was like I was like pretty behind compared to my classmates. Like in my first class, like everyone was like, "Yeah, I already coded. Like I did Java for 5 years or something," and I'm just like, "Yeah, I don't even know what's going on. Like, what's a comment? Like that doesn't even make sense to me."
Hmm. Right. And which language was that?
Yeah, so my school we learned this language called like Dr. Racket. It's like a scheme based language. So it was like a lot different. Like it wasn't like a Python or anything.
Hmm.
So even the kids that did like like Java and stuff, they still like kind of had to learn a new syntax and stuff. So kind of everyone was starting fresh basically.
Right. And that Dr. Racket language, how is it like? Could you provide some more further details about that?
Yeah, so I don't remember the right term.
Hmm.
Was it like imperative programming or I don't remember the exact term, but it's basically like there's no mutations at all. So everything you have to create like fresh objects basically. Um, so that's basically how the language was. I don't know. It's been like 5, 6 years. It's been a while.
Right. And yeah, like nowadays Python is becoming quite popular. How is it in the field that you're working at?
Yeah, like a lot of people still use Python. Like Python's like a
Hmm.
great language for like scripting. So a lot of
Hmm.
people use it to, write scripts to do certain things. And I personally think it's like a great language to start with. Because it's just like reading English. If you like name your variables and functions like very good, like it's just like reading a book at that point. Whereas like if you're doing like C++ or like JavaScript or something, you have like all these extra unnecessary symbols that will definitely confuse like a beginner.
Hmm. Right. Cool. And yeah, so like, what does a typical day in the life looks like for you working as a software engineer?
Yeah, so my days is generally I would like, I try to get into work before like 10, like maybe 9:30ish, depending like how early I can wake up that day. And then I'll just eat breakfast, and then I'll start my day by going through my emails, going through messages, checking if I have like some code reviews that I need to do. And then from there, I would probably, yeah, I usually have like meetings around like 11 ish. And then I would like do some more coding. Then I'll eat lunch around 12. And then I'll have like a few more meetings at like 1 to 2 ish. And then from there, it's just like more coding.
Right. Are you working in office or is this remote?
Yeah, so I go in office. I don't know. After working remote for like 2 years, I got really bored. It's just boring being home alone, and just staring at a computer. So I like that social aspect, like seeing people, and plus the office has food as well, so it helps me save a lot of money. And I eat a lot, so it definitely helps a lot with the budgeting.
Cool. Yeah, and like, what are some of the challenges that you're encountering working in tech? And could you like share with us about that?
Yeah, one of the challenges,
Mm-hmm.
I guess one of my biggest challenges is definitely environment setup. Like, it's not even the coding part at this point. It's just, figuring out what commands to run to get like something working. For example, like I had to run some certain scripts. It depended on like what Python 3 point something, and I was on like Python 2 point something. So I had to do like a lot of like, like reassembling the links so that it go points to the right Python and all that stuff. And then once I got that working, it's like I get all these other errors. So for me, like definitely like environment setup is like the hardest part. Another challenge I would say I have is, sometimes like I would read like Stack Overflow trying to figure out like an answer to whatever I'm searching up, and I can never like find the right like answer or solution. So I just dig through a bunch of posts. I guess like the challenge here is, just being resilient and just, just pushing through, like even though you feel like you're not making progress, or you're like you're feeling defeated, like you just got to keep pushing through. Like sometimes it might just require like a walk or maybe like a sleep. So the next day, like for some reason, it always happens. Like, if I can't figure something out after I sleep and I wake up the next day, it like, I don't know, the solution comes like
Magically
easily.
appear.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how that works, but like, I don't know, it's great.
Cool. Yeah, and like other than the coding challenges,
Mhm.
um, is there any other challenges that might like for a typical software engineer that they might encounter?
Yeah, I guess this might be like a personal one. Like for me, like I
Mhm.
would always compare myself to other people, especially like in school, we have this internship program, right? So um you're gonna like meet a lot of people in your classes and other people as well, where some people might be doing a lot better like in terms of the internships that they get. And like for me, like I did not work at any FAANG company at all throughout my internship, so I was always feeling defeated. I felt like, I was it's a lot of imposter syndrome, right? Like I felt like I didn't really belong, or I wasn't doing as well. But like for me, having those people, like seeing those people achieve those things makes me feel like, hey, we're in the same school, we're in the same program. I can definitely do that as well. So like it like opened opportunities for me. Like for me, like I went to school in Canada. I did not think that I would be working in the US or at any of these big companies at all, right? So it's just like seeing these opportunities and not using it. Like I see a lot of people make excuses. It's like, oh, only the top 1% can work at these companies. Oh, you'll never make 100K, blah blah blah, all that junk. Like I had those same feelings too. Like, for me, I was like, hey, if I can make 100K out of university, I would be like the happiest kid ever. And then when I made that 100K, I'm just like, wow, everyone else is making 200, 300K. Like, what am I doing? I'm not worth it, man. So just being able to see these like people achieve the same things, definitely opened my eyes and made me feel like, hey, I could achieve this as well if I put in the work, put in the hours. And yeah, it worked out.
Right. Yeah, that is certainly very inspiring. And like, what is the mindset that like if you could share with the audience, like to like perhaps for like a an aspiring software engineer or data scientist, like yeah, you mentioned about like your mindset of like if others can do it, then you could also do it as well. Yeah, could you share more of your mindset?
Yeah, like for example, like especially with those mindsets, like for me, I guess I was pretty fresh into the field. Like I didn't know about tech in general until university. Like for me, I would think, websites like Facebook, Google were I didn't know people, it was a job. I didn't know that it was a job. Like I thought there was these websites I can just go on and use. So it was very eye opening when I found out it was jobs, and and especially like the people I met in university. Like a lot of the first years I met, like some of them were already doing lead code and stuff already in first year. Uh, so being able to talk to these people and seeing what they did, it really helped like push me. Especially like I became friends with a lot of these people, and they were like, if I didn't become friends with them, I wouldn't have known about lead code. So
Mm,
thankfully, I met a lot of these people that helped me along my career. So I guess like knowing that these opportunities are available and making these networks and friendships with these people that are achieving it can definitely help
mhm,
you out. And like one a great way to do this, especially if you don't know any of these people, is there's all these YouTubers, creators, whatever, that are sharing their success stories. Like try to talk to them, because when you talk to these people, they'll share their insights, and then you kind of get to learn from them. And I guess one thing is, the smaller the creator, the more chance of you being able to talk to them, right? If they're like really big, 1 mil subscribers, like if you want to talk to them, it might be a bit more challenging. But usually the smaller creators are like always happy to help, always happy to chat. Like for example, um, yeah, like Tech Rally, this guy named Tech Rally, he's always happy to help. I see him roasting like YouTubers, like giving them advice for free. So that guy's a pretty cool guy.
cool. Yeah. Yeah, certainly agree with you on that. Like certainly like there's a lot to learn, especially from other like-minded individuals. And it's quite cool in the sense that, like all of us tech YouTubers, like we came from different backgrounds and then like we're creating similar content.
Hmm.
Like you're coming from a computer science background, I'm coming from a biology background, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
have expected that like today I would, like be working in tech or, like make contents on YouTube. And like if you look like 4 to 5 years back, I don't even have a Twitter account,
Hmm.
and I don't even have, like anything that's like, like social network related. So I'm kind of like kind of like, like not really, or perhaps I didn't see like the potential of YouTube at the time. Perhaps it was seen as like only an entertainment, like venue, like,
Yeah.
like watching Mr. Beast video or yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I think like yeah, for me, I didn't really create content before, so I was just consuming it. But now that I'm on the other side creating content as well, like I can see all the, like, the hard work that people put into it. But at the same time, like when you become a creator yourself, you kind of open like some new doors. Like for example, like I would never thought I'd be talking to someone like you, Shannon. So that's interesting. Like just being a content creator yourself, like you can actually get to talk to all these other creators that you used to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I also feel the same way. And like I guess like my break into tech is probably like a result of me making content on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's pretty surreal, like being able to make content and then learn and also, like tweet, and they consider that as like your job. It's quite amazing. Like
Yeah.
versus when I was in university as a professor, I try to find time, like in gaps period, like during lunch or, like during the breaks, to check up on the comments on YouTube, or, like make
Uh-huh.
contents in the late night, like 10 p.m. until midnight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a grind at the beginning, right? Like you just gotta
Hmm.
find that free time to do these things. Like for
Hmm.
example, like I was talking to some of my friends, they're like, "Oh, how do you even find time to make content?" I'm like, you just gotta do it, those late nights or whatever. Same as Liko as well, like how do you study for interviews? You gotta put in that extra time. Like you gotta say no to certain plans, you gotta make time for the things that matter to you.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. So speaking of content creation, let's dive a little bit deeper into the topic. So when did you exactly started creating content?
Yeah, so I started in 2021, like near January. I wanted to, I don't
Hmm.
know, make some like funny skits on TikTok about tech.
Hmm.
I don't know, at that time the algorithm didn't really respect me yet, so I was getting like maybe like 500 views or something, or less than that. Like I don't know, they cap you, like something about the algorithm, they
Hmm.
cap you if you're like a new account. Then I got discouraged, I gave up. So I didn't start up again. I started again around like October-ish, October, November-ish. Because my girlfriend got a cat, and then we wanted to make videos for the cat. So we didn't really know TikTok, so I was okay, let me try making some more videos and try to understand how the algorithm works. And then from there, like we worked together. We did this like kind of boot camp thing where we made videos for a week straight and just kept like making content. And then somehow our videos started like getting more views, and then it became a bit fun. So I started making more videos. Um, and yeah, then like I don't know, I saw all these people saying, "Oh, how do I get started with coding?" Oh, and then I just got kind of annoyed because I saw these like creators make videos like, oh, you should check out CS50, Harvard CS50, you learn to code for free. And then these people are getting like millions of views just for saying, yeah, check out this website. I'm like, wow. Like it got annoying because they're not really helping the people in a way. They're kind of just saying, okay, yeah, check this website out, it'll help you. So I'm like, okay, maybe I will just make like tutorial videos, teach people how to code. I don't know, maybe like try to be different. So that's what I've been doing, and that's why I started a YouTube channel where like I'm just teaching people how to code. Um, yeah,
Cool. And you're teaching for free as well. Like you have like a large playlist of that.
yeah. So, funny story is like during the pandemic, like
Hmm.
I had a lot of like I saw a lot of people that I knew that lost their jobs and stuff. So for me, like I still had my job. I was working remotely. I was just chilling, and I was kind of getting bored of everything, like just being stuck at home. I was like, okay, why don't I try teaching like friends and family how to code? So like I literally wrote up slides and stuff, like showing people how to code and doing like pair programming, screen share stuff like that. And then it was going pretty well. And then I was like, I want to like share with more people, right? And
Hmm.
what better way to do that than like create like a YouTube channel with it? Um, because I don't know, some people complain. They're like, "Oh, why are you making like YouTube channel, blah blah blah, like stuff like that." And I'm like, okay, like what other site can I put like videos on and get like people to like discover it, right? Like if I like just put in like a Google Drive or whatever, like who's gonna discover that? So like YouTube is like a great place to like I don't know, post content and get discoverability. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so like your path starts with TikTok and then you branch down to YouTube. And then you
Yeah.
mentioned before that you're also entering Twitter as well.
Um,
For
I
each of
wouldn't.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I'll just say I don't know about Twitter. Like I just go on there for fun. Like maybe I'll post some funny stuff or like comment on some stuff, but I don't really go on Twitter that much.
Hmm. Right. And like for these different platforms, in your opinion, are they different in terms of like when you're creating content, are you creating content unique to each platform, or are you like repurposing some aspect of content on one platform to the other?
Yeah, so for TikTok, I think like the type of content I make there is more chill. Like I don't really do that much
Mm-hmm.
editing and stuff. So usually like I could usually I would repost that onto YouTube Shorts. For
Mm-hmm.
YouTube videos or more like longer form videos. Sometimes like maybe if I say something interesting in a video, I might like crop it into like a 10-second video and post it on TikTok. Um, but yeah, usually when I make content, I just focus it on a specific platform. If it does well on, so for example, like the videos I upload on YouTube Shorts are like the videos that did well on TikTok. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I might post it on Instagram as well. But yeah, it's kind of hard. Like sometimes a video might work well on one platform and it doesn't perform on another.
Mm-hmm. Right. And like in terms of contents on YouTube, are they more like serious, like like step-by-step tutorials? And on TikTok, you mentioned it's more chill. Um, yeah, how exactly? Could you provide some more additional information?
Yeah, so on TikTok, like I will try, like for example, if a topic takes like 5 minutes to talk about, I would try to trim it down to maybe a 15-second video. But then the hard part is like if I try to, teach something in a short amount of time, like I have to like skip out a lot of important stuff. And then that's when you get these troll. I don't know if it's trolls or whatever, but you're gonna get comments where people are like, "Oh, you forgot to mention this, forgot to mention that." I'm like, okay, it's like a 10-second video. You expect me to like shove like an hour worth or 15-minute worth of content in there? Um, but yeah, in general, like TikTok is like quick, 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 super fast. Like
Hmm.
get your point across, and on YouTube, be more explicit, show more examples. Um, yeah, slower paced like learning. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. And like from your experience, are the audiences on both platforms different? And if so, like how?
Mm, I guess like for TikTok, like yeah, like I mentioned, like videos have to be like really quick. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't know. Some people can get it to like can post like 1 minute long videos and get like good traction. But for me, I think the shorter my videos are, the faster I can get a point. Like the more people will watch. And
Hmm.
I think my audience on TikTok is like mainly like maybe like people in like high school. um yeah, a lot of the younger audience, younger kids. On YouTube, I'm not sure what the audience is like. I think most of them are maybe like in their 25s to 30s. But yeah, TikTok is, yeah, more kids usually.
Cool, cool. Yeah. Yeah. So how about we hop over to like to the tech topics?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Could you provide us some advice for the audience, like how to survive in tech and more like how do you stand out in such a competitive field? Because as you
Yeah.
mentioned early on, a lot is changing, evolving.
Yeah, so when you say like survive, like are you saying like finding jobs or like surviving in your current job?
Yeah, more in the latter, surviving in your current job.
Yeah, so I think one important thing that I learned working in the industry is definitely you got to be more like you got to fight for yourself. Like yeah, you can be an amazing programmer or whatever, you can be like shipping like crazy code. But if you're not like pushing for yourself, like if you're not talking about yourself, like being vocal, no one's going to know. Like you can assume your manager knows exactly what you're doing, but honestly, managers are really busy. They have like maybe like 8 or 10 more people they're looking after. So it's very hard for them to kind of get an idea of what your impacts you're making. So it's kind of important to try to be vocal about yourself. So one thing I like to do is I keep a document where I just track the work that I did and maybe like the impact it had. Um, so one thing you can do is write emails, like share like updates on what you're working on, what you've done. Like it's a great way to get visibility. Like especially like your manager will probably read it, and maybe his manager will read it as well, and some of your teammates will read it. Uh, by doing these posts, it makes you visible, right? Like if you never write anything, like you're basically invisible. Like yeah, people are like, oh yeah, this is the guy that writes code, blah blah blah. But now when you're writing posts, it's like, oh yeah, this guy worked on this, he worked on that, he made this impact. So definitely by documenting and sharing your thoughts, it definitely helps you gain visibility, which is very
Mhm.
important, especially this whole rat race thing, whatever people call it. Like if you want to get promotions, blah blah blah, like this is super important.
Right. And is there any type of content creation that you would recommend? Like you mentioned about writing emails and with blogs or tutorial videos.
Mhm.
Somehow, if you could, like some of the things that you're already doing in content creation, could it somehow help you in your tech job?
Yeah, so like I guess one thing like with me making these content creation videos is I got better at editing videos.
Hmm.
So especially like whenever you're releasing a feature or you're working on a certain product, you will definitely like, instead of just writing, what this feature does or whatever, if you record a demo of it, like usually like if people see videos or pictures, they'll tend
Hmm.
to, understand things a lot better rather than reading text. So for example, like I shipped a feature and I created a video demo of it, and
Hmm.
people were able to understand it and they were able to engage with the feature I built. So it's
Hmm.
very handy, like just these extra skills that you learn from other things you do.
Cool. Awesome. And yeah, we forgot to mention that you're pretty big on TikTok and you're
Oh.
fastly approaching 100,000 followers there. Yeah, like could you provide the audience like some of the tips on how they too could probably get started in content creation and what is it like and what to expect?
Yeah, so with TikTok, it's like you just gotta like at the beginning, it's very I don't know. When I first started making videos, it was weird. Just seeing myself, hearing my own voice, super weird. But once you start making videos and get comfortable with that, it becomes normal and natural. So yeah, first step is to make that first video. And as you make videos, like you're definitely not gonna get a lot of views right off the bat. But if you do, then you're very lucky. So some people are blessed with that, so take advantage of it. But I think like the good thing about TikTok is you're not paying any money to post these videos. It's all free. So experiment with it. Like you could post a video. Like yeah, some people or yeah, one thing I would say is post a video, see how it performs. If it doesn't perform well, then change things up, try something different. Um, and maybe if you think you made like the best video ever and it doesn't perform, it could be the placement of the clips, right? So you're allowed to repost the same video and like move clips around, whatever. Like that's how you like experiment. And I guess like yeah, you're doing machine learning and stuff. Maybe you've probably seen like experimentation and stuff like that. But basically at the end of the day, it's just you trying different things and seeing what sticks, and that's how you gain like your traction.
Right. Yeah, I certainly agree with that. And like analyzing the performance of past performance and then kind of like doubling down on the content that is working is a great way to uh, move forward. Yeah, so I guess we covered all of the major questions and topics that we have for you. But before we let you go, would you like to share something about yourself and like how the audience could like enjoy more of your content?
Yeah, definitely. So if anyone wants to learn how to code, I have a great playlist that I've been working on. It's still a work in progress, but most of it, like most of like how to build projects and stuff like that, is already done. Now I'm just focusing more on how to do data structures and algorithms, which I'm slowly making videos now because my schedule is getting a lot busy. But feel free to check me out on YouTube. It's Code with Vincent. Just search me up. And if you want more, chill, funny, or just random tech content, just check me out on TikTok. It's Code with Vincent as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and thanks for being on the show here. And yeah, so all of the links that Vincent has mentioned will be in the video description. And yeah, Vincent, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. It was fun chatting with you, and nice to meet everyone.
Yep. See you.